everybody, and welcome to episode 76 of the This Old Knit podcast. I am your host, Nina, otherwise known as Ine on Ravelry, Instagram, and Pinterest. And you can find show notes on the episode thread of the This Old Knit podcast group in Ravelry. Hi, everybody. It is July 4th, 2017. Thank you all for coming back if you're a returning viewer, and thank you for checking me out if you're a new viewer. I've noticed that we've had a lot of subscribers recently, and I know I've had a few mentions on different podcasts, so thank you to Tommy of Squirrel Pie Productions and Melody of the Melody Crochet. Her name is Melody Crochet on Instagram, but I think it's like Melody Crochets and Knits. Shoot. I should have looked that up. I will link to it in the show notes, but she has a fairly new podcast, and you can search on YouTube with Melody Crochet and you can find it. So thank you to both of you for mentioning my podcast, and like I said, thank you to everyone for checking me out. So I feel like my camera is really close. I'm filming with my phone again. I didn't have time or energy to set up my camera, and I also spent the last 30 or 40 minutes ripping out a row of my Oracle shawl, and I am not going to have time to do a very long podcast because my husband has a light day at the gym today, and if I want to get the main portion of it filmed before the kids get home, then I need to get cracking. So I just decided to quickly throw my phone on some boxes and just go. So we'll get done what we get done, right? So it has been a pretty busy 2 weeks for me, but I haven't worked on a ton of stuff. So just FYI, the knitting content will be quality, not quantity, because I've been focusing a lot on objects. Good and bad, right? But I do have an FO, so we'll start with that. It's not blocked though, so I will probably show it again once I've actually blocked it. I'm sorry, my hip is really hurting, my right hip. So I keep fidgeting around. I need to really stretch it out. I'm going to probably do some yoga when I finish recording. So what I finished is my snow melt shawl, and I haven't had time to block it because blocking is quite an intense process. For those of you who have done shawls before, you know what I'm talking about. And this one is going to be pretty big, and I'll need to use multiple blocking wires and lots of pins. So I just haven't had the probably 30 minutes that I would need to devote to it that I've wanted to devote to it. I can't wear shawls right now, so it's probably part of the reason that I'm not feeling really motivated. But I'm super happy all of the knitting is done. So here it is. And you can see it's still really... This is my full arm span unblocked. It's easily stretching to my full arm span. So I know it's going to be a really big shawl once I block it. So for those of you just joining me, this is the Snow Melt Shawl pattern by Helen Stewart, who is Curious Handmade Designs on Ravelry. I used 3 colors of yarn. I'm going to bring it closer so you can see. The top one is Eggnog in the House Gnome base by No Makers. The second one that is multicolored is Francophile Knits in the Chaussette base in the colorway Macaron. And the last one, the Pinky Rose, is Madeline Tosh Merino Light in the Rose colorway. I'm super happy with it, guys. I really love it. And that cream colored edging is everything. It just makes the shawl. It really does. It's kind of like a little filmy whipped cream on the bottom of my desserty shawl. So yeah, it's gonna be super nice. Like, the ends are not long enough right now, but I know that they will be. when I block it. So yeah, I'm really happy that that's done. And I want to knit all the Helen Stewart patterns now. She's a very good designer. I have several. I have another one on the needles, the quill shawl. I did not forget about that, by the way, guys, but I decided somehow that I wanted to finish my snow melt, which is good. I need to not cast things on all the time. I also, just as I go through cast-on-itis, I have finish-up-itis, I guess you would call it, where I go through phases of I want to finish everything that's on my needles. So I'm sort of in one of those phases right now. And hopefully they balance each other out over the full year, and that's how I accomplish what I accomplish. You're on my ironing board because I like to keep it professional here at the This Old Knit podcast. Okay. And by the way, Tommy from Squirrel Pie Productions said she uses her ironing board for podcasting too. Apparently this is the podcaster secret because I've been using mine for quite a while as well. It's just the right height. It's really quick to set up and take down. And then I just pile some boxes from Tuesday morning on it, and the bottom one gets it to the right height, and then the second one is what I sit my phone against when I use my phone. When I don't use my phone, I have a tripod. So now whips. Let's talk about the Oracle shawl, shall we? Because that's what I have been spending a massive amount of my time on. I cast it on not this last Saturday, but the Saturday before. And I am test knitting this for Kristen from the Yarngasm podcast, who is Bull and Vine on Ravelry. Just for a reminder, it is a pie shawl, so it is a very large circular shawl with alternating layers of brioche and lace. The lace pattern is pretty straightforward. However, this is one of those shawls that lulls me into a false sense of security, like, I got this. Because it's very easily memorizable. However, I have children, and these children are very mischievous and distracting. So every time I think, oh yeah, I got this, I tend to put it down and forget where I am in the pattern. And I usually do this on a plain row, thinking, oh, I'll be able to come back and just keep knitting. But then in my brain I go, oh yeah, I'm on a lace row. And so I start doing the lace pattern. And then I realize once I'm halfway across the 500 something stitches, my ear's ringing, that I've screwed up and it wasn't a pattern row, it was a plain row. So I ended up having to rip it back, knit it again. So I was on the third repeat and I knew there was something wrong. I felt like the lace wasn't lining up right because it very clearly lines up appropriately. It has what I think of as like these branches that come out of a central spine. And so you can see when you're lining up with that central spine or not. And I wasn't. And I was like, there's something wrong. So I looked back. Everything looked fine. So I kept knitting. Not a good idea. Listen to your gut. So I got to the end of the row and I had one extra stitch. So I know I screwed up somewhere, but I don't know if it was this row or one row back, which would have been a plain row, or 2 rows back, which was another lace row. Anyway, so I ripped that whole row back. And that's what took me like 40 minutes because each row uses that much yarn. This is the yarn from one row now. I think I could put this on a 60-inch cable. I just haven't done it yet. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this as my opportunity to put it on a 60-inch cable. And definitely before I start the next brioche section, I'm going to put in a lifeline because then I'm going to be over 1,000 stitches. And if I have to tink back that many, I swear I will stab my own eyes out with a pencil. I won't actually do that. I'm being hyperbolic. I won't be happy, let's say that. So, to avoid that, I don't typically use lifelines for shawls. Not gonna lie to you, I'm lazy. They take a while to put in, and I don't usually do them. But It's over 1,000 stitches, people. I don't want to take that back. I want to just rip the needles out and pull it back to a lifeline. So that's what I'm going to do. Let's talk about the yarn. Because I didn't have the yarn last time I podcast, I thought I was going to use 3 colors from my stash. I was going to use, sorry, I keep popping my ear. Bouche de Noël, Velvet Grapes, and Lemon Lime. I had convinced myself that this was okay. Then Kristen sent the pattern. I looked at it and I thought about it. And I realized that with that Lemon Lime, I was really not sure I would have enough. And I was talking about modifying the design to try and make it work with my yarn. And frankly, I'm test knitting it for her. I want it to look like what she intended it to look like. I don't want to be modifying it and stuff. Now, if I were to knit it again, absolutely. I would not hesitate to modify this pattern. It seems like it would be very easy to knit smaller. Could leave out some sections or potentially some rows. However, since I'm a test knitter, I want her to have an FO picture that she could use on the design page. So I talked to Kristen, and she had been providing yarn support for all of the other test knitters. I just felt guilty asking for yarn, which is silly. So I decided to use the Lady of the Lake that I had in my stash, which is now coming unraveled on the outside of the ball. Oh my, it's a mess. It's tangled with a picture that Megwin drew. She drew a tank design for her fish tank. Hang on just a moment. Okay, so if you remember last time I showed you that I had just acquired the Lady of the Lake in the Volca base. So I definitely wanted to use that because I love the blues that Kristen does. Let me try and block that window so you can see it. Anyway, it's a pale sky blue with speckles of brown and magenta and purple and navy blue. It's very, very pretty. So I wanted stuff to go with this, and I couldn't decide. So I asked Kristen for her advice on what she thought would look good with it. So she sent me like 5 different color combinations. Some of them didn't even use Lady of the Lake. They used tea leaves, which I also was thinking about using. It was the pink one that I got. And I have noted those because I really loved the other color combos that she showed me, and I would like to make other shawls with them. But for this one, we went with Dead Calm. Yeah, that's pretty true to color. It is a very deep teal. It's a really nice color. And then a colorway she hasn't dyed in quite a while, which is Stardust. And that's the one I was showing you. So it is a pale pink with almost that same teal from this guy. And then some pale blue, some, again, magenta speckles, purple speckles, and orange speckles. Which is really nice. I think it was her tribute to Ziggy Stardust. And it's on Sparkle. So I'm using all 3 of Kristen's bases that I believe she's dyeing on right now. She switches out some for spring, summer and winter. Right now she's doing her singles base, and then I think she swaps it out for her DK weight. She also has some other bases that are a little bit more warm weather. So this one's on Nouveau, which is the singles. That's what she knit her whole shawl out of. This one is Volca, which is the MCN base she has, and then this one is Blitzed, which is her Sparkle base. So So there's my color palette. I'm really happy with it. Of course I am. It's my shawl. Why would you knit with something you weren't happy with, Nina? That's ridiculous. You're right, me. So I have had some issues along the way. Not anything with the pattern per se. She's been really, really great about incorporating all of our feedback. I think Tommy and I are roughly at the same place. She might be a little bit further along because she had a knitcation, which I'm so super jealous of. I need a day off, people. I really do. Today's my day off, but it's in the middle of the week, which is weird. So I started with the Stardust, and then I went into the Dead Calm, and then my first brioche is Lady of the Lake and Dead Calm. And here's where I messed up. So I missed on the setup row, I think. I don't really know what happened, but I believe on the setup row, I didn't catch the yarn over at the end of the round because you're setting up to then work brioche. So you have to have double the amount of stitches that you want because you're working brioche. And for those of you who haven't worked brioche, it's basically just knit one, yarn over, knit two together, or knit one, yarn over, purl two together. Very, very straightforward. There's a lot of like abbreviations of different things. So they use BRK and BRP, but BRK is just a knit two together and BRP is just a purl two together. With a yarn over with it. So don't let it intimidate you. It's really, really easy. If you can do knit, purl, and knit two together and purl two together and yarn overs, you can do brioche. Seriously. Don't let it scare you. It's very easy and it's super fun. It's very meditative. However, first setup row, I screwed up. So my entire brioche, I was missing 2 stitches. Didn't realize this until I got up to here and I did all my increases for the next ring and I was off by 4 stitches. Now, I have over 500 stitches at this point. And so just puzzling it out, I figured out how many brioche columns I should have had, which would just be the, let me hold it closer so you can see. It would just be these sets of knits and I was missing 1. So I said to Kristen, if you want, I will rip it all out, but I will cry. I will be very, very sad and upset because this was a couple of days of work. And she was like, no, I think you probably could figure out how to fudge it. Just try it and see if it's going to look natural or not. So I did. And what I did with it is I used my tail from joining in the Stardust. Oops. Right here. And I used that tail to pick up yarn overs as though I had actually done them appropriately and then to knit them. So this is up a little bit higher than it would be. And luckily I left myself a nice long tail so that I could do that. And I think it looks fine. It's not very noticeable. So most of them, the lace really springs out of these brioche stitches, but on this last one, there's kind of 4 stitches that come out of it instead of just 2. But that's way better than me ripping it all the way back. The purpose of testing the pattern is just to let Kristen know if it's written appropriately. It was written fine. It was all just my own mistake. So, we're good to go. So then I was cruising along on the lace. And like I said, I screwed up somewhere. I'm halfway through this lace section. So I've done 3 full repeats and I'm on my 4th repeat of the lace. It's not as easy to see in this patterned yarn, or in this speckle yarn. Especially when you got like people behind it. But you can kind of see that. I think of it as a tree trunk with branches coming out of it. It's really hard when you're looking at your own hand. You can see it much better on the bluish teal color. So anyway, it'll come out in the blocking. It'll be fine. And as I said, I really love my color palette. So that's my Oracle shawl. And that has basically been all I've worked on last week. The week before that, while I was waiting for my yarn to get here, I worked on my French toast pullover. And I got a lot done. I'm really happy with how it's coming out. It's in my teapot and teacups bag. Guys, I love this bag so much. I'm so happy with how it turned out. It's like one of my favorite bags I've ever made. Okay. This guy is getting close to being where I would do the bottom ribbing. So this is a pattern by Alicia Plummer, who is Two Little Plums on Ravelry. It is just a basic raglan pullover, but it has this nice central cable. So I have done all of my increases, waist decreases. I think I have 2 more increases, and then I'm going to try it on again and see if it's at the point where it's ready to have the bottom ribbing. I'm too close. I can't show this to you properly. The yarn I'm using is Gaia's Colors Mama Quilla worsted base in Folta. It's discontinued. She doesn't die anymore, so you cannot get it. I am alternating skeins every row. Every row? Yeah, every row. And I had some fairly different colors. It's looking weird, like I've got a weird splotch, but it's just because of my lighting. Sorry. It's really not weird like that. My camera's doing weird things. And maybe I'll try to insert a picture of it, because I took a picture of it on when I was trying it on, and I really like the fit. So I will insert that here. And as I said, I do really like the fit. I'm really happy with it. I knit a size 38 bust. I did not do any modifications to it. Like sometimes I knit with increases up to a larger bust size, and then I decrease back down on the waist to the size below the size I use up here. But I just knit a straight size 38, and it's fitting really well. I could see myself making another one of these. It's very straightforward, very easy. It's a worsted weight sweater, so it's zooming right along. Very fun to knit. I love this base. It's a singles base, so it's really soft. It's probably going to pill like nobody's business, but I don't care. That green. Just love that green. And that was all, sorry. This is all from 2 skeins, guys. This is just 2 skeins of the yarn. So I just added in my second 2 skeins. They're fairly different though. The one on the right is much lighter than the one on the left, but alternating seems to be mitigating some of that. So alternate your skeins if you're using hand-dyed yarn. Definitely alternate. It makes a big difference. I'm knitting that on size 8 needles for the body, and then I'll do size 7 for the ribbing and I have to pick up and knit. It's kind of a little rounded V-neck, kind of. It's a soft V. Let's call it that. And then I think I'm going to have a whole extra skein that I won't even need to dip into. But I have 3 more skeins. So that is my French toast pullover. And then the last thing that I've really done any kind of work on at all is my Felici socks. Sorry, it's stuck on my tripod. Okay, my Felici socks, and this is classic Felici Sport from my Aunt Lynn's stash. The colorway is Neapolitan, and it is really, really nice. It's very squishy because it's that supposedly sport weight, but it's, I'd say, heavy fingering. I'm doing Hermione's everyday sock pattern, which I think looks really nice with the Felici stripes. And then I used a No Maker's Scruffy Gnome in Cookies colorway for the heel. I really like how well that matches this stripe. It's an Eye of Partridge heel. And then I'm on the foot now. So I think I have maybe 2 more stripes, and then I'll do a Cookies toe as well. And this is, or not in acquisitions, but I'll show it now because it's here. This is my new Progress Keeper from Sugar Tots. It is an ice cream narwhal. It's not wanting to focus, but he's got like a little ice cream cone for his tooth, and then it's a melted ice cream on his head. He is so stinking cute, and I love him. So that is all of my knitting whips. And then I do have a little bit of progress on a sewing whip. So I believe I mentioned last time that I was making a pair of pajama pants from this pattern. It's a quick sew pattern, K3602, and it's just elastic waist pajama pants. Very basic. So I am knitting. I'm sewing them out of a flannel fabric in this adorable llama print. So I made some pattern pieces with Swedish tracing paper. Which is also kind of it's sewable, but it's this really nice, like, feels like heavy interfacing almost. So I've cut out all 4 of my parts. This is the front 2 pieces, and this is the back 2 pieces. They seem gigantic, but they're not supposed to be a fitted leg, and they're not sewn together yet, so I'm sure they're fine. I think they probably are a little bit long. I'm quite short. I'm only 5'4". So I bet that I probably should have shortened the pattern a little bit, but I will use these as a guide, and then I will shorten my Swedish tracing paper pieces accordingly, and then I will have an appropriate pattern piece for later. So anyway, I will try to sew those together sometime. I don't know when that's going to happen, but at least I have progressed, right? I've got them cut out. I'm making my way. It was really hard to cut them out because I don't have a table to lay them out on. So I had to lay them out on the floor. And I also don't have a pair of good cutting scissors or sewing scissors. I have like ones that have a straight blade, but I think I need ones that have a little bend from the handle so that I can cut and not feel like I'm having to lift up the pattern to do it. So I used my rotary cutter, which I like for bags, but I didn't necessarily like for going around curves. So a lot of people on Instagram suggested Ginger scissors, so I'm going to check out buying a pair of those because I do feel like I am interested enough in sewing that I should invest in a good pair of scissors. Besides my rotary cutter and the other pair of scissors that I have, which are also really great for just trimming threads and trimming pieces on bags and stuff that I make. So that's that. And then I think that's all my whips. Let's talk about what I want to do as far as bags. So maybe today I would like to make a bag with my seashell fabric, which I've shown before, but I did finally decide on what I'm going to do. And these fat quarters are clearly like misshapen. It's really this middle one that's off, but this one is a little bit short for a fat quarter. This guy, but I think it'll still be fine. So I'm going to use this for my bag lining. It's got different multicolored sand dollars on it. And I'm going to use this for the main body of the bag. It's a very, very pale yellow. And then I'm going to use this for the bottom. It's gray with that pale yellow and then peach and green. Because it will also be able to sit on things and not show dirt as much as this one would if it were alone. It would probably really show dirt. So I'm going to cut those pieces out. And then I also am going to do a swap with Melody, who I mentioned before, include with her box. So I'm going to dig through my stash of material and decide on a little combo for her bag and try to sew one up. Maybe I'll do the teacups that I have in blue because she really likes blue. That would be nice. So then, acquisitions. I did buy some yarn. And I also got patterns. So I'll show the patterns first. So I have been wanting for a while to get some Colette patterns. And my husband actually had a couple of Colette patterns that he wanted as well. So I went ahead and purchased them. And I'm really, really happy I did because they are crazy good quality. I love the way that they're put together. And so I wanted to share them with you in case you have not tried out Colette patterns before. I haven't sewn with any of them yet, so I can't speak to how the instructions are. But as far as just how they're constructed, they're beautiful. And I think they're just the way that I would imagine patterns should be. So this is one of the ones my husband wanted. It's Walden, and it's for a coat because he's been wanting to make a coat for bushcrafting out of canvas and then wax it. So it's got toggles, it's got a hood, one with pockets or without pockets. And this coat is called, Walden by Colette Patterns, Albion. Sorry, it's Albion. Albion is the name of the coat. So what I like about the patterns, first off, they're in a booklet form. So you can sit them on a bookshelf, which is crazy nice, right? Then they have a little tab to open them. And then the pattern booklet is spiral bound in the pattern envelope. Then it has a little space for the pattern pieces, and it's on really nice paper. So it's all right there for you to use.
Hi.
There's Megwin.
Mom, look at my earth.
Oh, you colored that very nicely.
This is my earth picture. If I get closer, you can see
Yeah,
it
you
better.
need to get it closer. Very cool. I love it.
I'm going to do the Saturn and all the rest of the planets.
Okay.
And if you saw the one with the lines on it, that's Pluto.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Far away from the sun.
Far away.
Pretty far away.
Okay. Then I got this shirt pattern for my husband. It's the Negroni shirt. So it has a short sleeve and long sleeve version. It's just a casual shirt, but my husband really likes linen shirts, and they're hard to find that fit him nicely. There's not a lot of stuff made out of linen that you can find in the stores, but it's a really nice fabric. So anyway, I'm going to try to sew him some linen ones, or he may try to sew them because he has been getting more into sewing. And then for me, I got the beignet skirt. It's a high-waisted straight skirt with buttons down the front, and then it's got a little tie at the waist. And this one does not have the same spiral on it. It's just sewn in to the booklet, but it also doesn't have as long of instructions. So I think it's because the coat has a lot of instructions to it. This instruction booklet is definitely much smaller. But still, it's very nice. It looks like it could be opened easily to, you know, look at it. And then it's got a place for your notes on the back. Same thing, it's got a little pocket for your pattern pieces. Your tools, supplies, and fabric are all on the back. And it's got that nice little tab to close it all up. It also got some coffee on it, which is sad. So I got beignet. And my idea with that is I want to make this into this skirt with either white buttons, white pearly buttons, or some navy blue pearly buttons down the front. I think that'd be so pretty. And then with like a red sweater, like the feather nest pullover I want to knit. Oh my gosh, that'd be so pretty. In my mind, I want to have feather nest as my Christmas sweater. I can have it done by Christmas. I totally could do that. The other pattern that I bought is this one. It is Moneta. And it's a jersey dress. Yeah. Or double knit. And then it's also got lining in one of the versions. But I love that it has the 3 different variations. So you can either do this guy with no sleeves, and it has this little like boat neck folded over collar detail. You can do it with short sleeves or long sleeves. And it has a really nice size range. It goes all the way from an extra small to a 3XL. Their measurements look reasonable. Some of the patterns, like the measurements, are really weird. And I have to really modify them a lot because I don't have really big hips, but I do have a very large bust. So I end up having to make it like between 2 sizes, and I have to grade my patterns. So anyway, I was really impressed with the quality of the Colette patterns. I will definitely be purchasing more of them, and I highly recommend them. They had them on sale too. These were like $2 off each for the printed version. They also sell PDF ones, but I'm not interested in printing and cutting and taping together patterns. I don't have time for that. And then I should have prepared for this. I bought some Felici yarn, which is what I'm grabbing right now. I'll just grab one of each color to show you. So they released the new Felici colors. Yep. Wow, you already finished it?
Yep, look.
That was fast. Okay, you can show it while I'm getting my stuff together here.
I finished my space picture.
You want me to hold it and you can point to it?
If you want to see, that's Pluto right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's the sun. Right next to it is Venus. You may not know what those things below it are. They're tears because it's sweating and so hot there. The one in the middle is Earth. That down there is the Milky Way. And well, that's pretty much...
You didn't talk about that one.
That's Saturn. I put a bit of orange into it and some yellow.
And the rings, of course.
I put...
Don't bump the ironing board.
Yeah, and I put actually a bit of beige below the orange here, so it would show out really nicely. And I haven't colored the stars in the dark sky yet, but I'm going to save that for a little while later.
Okay. Thanks.
I'm not very good at drawing stars.
Just draw dots. They're not really technically, they don't have those things. They're just a sphere, just like a planet. That's just the glowing part from the gas. Okay. So anyway, I bought a lot of the new colors of Felici. And then, of course, they put together a pack that was 20% off to buy all of them. But that's fine. I wanted to make sure I got them. So I got Stone Harbor. Steamer Trunk. I really like this one. I really like all of them, but Cheshire Grin. Witch's Brew. This one, the picture on the website was terrible. I didn't particularly love it on the website, but I do love it in person. It's a problem. Knitpicks does not have real great yarn photos. Soft Serve. This one was being discontinued. So it's like $3.89 a ball, which was awesome. I missed it last time. So this was one from their last Felici update. And I was really sad I didn't get that one. So I'm super glad that I got some. Mint Chip. Which is one of my favorite flavors of ice cream. And Punch Bug. Just like a dark rainbow. I love it. Doesn't have green in it. So those are the colors that I got. I got 2 balls of each, but I didn't need to show you 2 balls. So my Felici basket is stuffed. And I actually have 2 balls in the box that you were sitting against. So I need to knit more Felici socks because I can't resist Felici. And I have to buy it when the colors come out. So, yeah, I need to knit more Felici. I'm not going to put those away right now in front of you. That is pretty much it. Like I said, I didn't have a lot that I worked on this week. I just put in a lot of time on my Oracle shawl and on my sweater. Yeah, we can record more separately for you.
Thanks, Mom.
Yep. So I am going to work on some sewing and yeah, that's probably what I'm going to do today, and a little bit of cleaning. And then, what else? I know there was stuff I was going to mention. I'm really not with it. I'm sorry, guys. Oh, yeah. So I am trying to make more food. I have been getting into a bit of a pattern where I'm buying food at work. Now, we have a really good cafe. There's nothing wrong with it. However, obviously that costs more money for me to do, and since I'm a vegetarian and I do occasionally eat fish, so I guess I'm technically a pescatarian, there are days where there are no vegetarian options in my cafe unless I want to do salad bar, which salads can actually get out of hand quite quickly as far as calories as soon as you're adding a lot of toppings onto them. So I, this week, made a really great California quinoa salad. It's one of my favorite recipes. It's a copycat recipe of a Whole Foods thing that they have at their bar. You know, they have like the salad and prepared foods bar. So this is one of the items that they have there. It's got a red bell pepper. It has onions, but I leave them out because I get heartburn from raw onions. It's got almonds, coconut flakes, edamame, raisins, mango. I think that's it. Yeah. And then quinoa, of course. And then it has a very fresh dressing on it that's just balsamic vinegar and lime juice. So it's got a lot of protein in it, and it's very delicious, and it lasts all week, so it makes a lot of food. I posted a picture of all of my ingredients chopped up before I added in the quinoa on Instagram. And then I also started making overnight refrigerator oats. I had never done that before, so I used the Minimalist Baker's peanut butter overnight oats recipe. And you guys, this is so ridiculously filling. So I made the recipe as she laid it out, but it was like 2 days worth of food. I couldn't eat anymore. I ate half of it. I added a little bit of banana, and I could not eat any more of it. So I just ate the other half of it today. But it was super filling, like to the point where typically I was eating a bagel with cream cheese, and I was really, really hungry by like 11:30. Yesterday, I think it was like 12:30 or 1 before I started eating my lunch, and even then I wasn't super hungry. So I definitely would recommend that recipe. I will link to it in the show notes. But try it out. It was very easy. I just threw all of the ingredients into a mason jar and put it in my fridge. And then the next day, all I did was stir it up, and I cut up like a banana on top of it. And that was a really yummy addition. I might try it with some like fresh berries or something like that. We always have some kind of fruit around here because the kids are fruit bats. They survive off fruit. Yeah, so that was the other thing I wanted to mention, just because I've been enjoying doing that this week. So I'm definitely going to try to do better about taking my food to work and eating more of the things I enjoy, because I don't like having to compromise on certain days. And some days the only choice is a veggie burger if I don't want to have salad bar, and I don't want to eat veggie burgers that often. So I'm rambling now. I will sign off. And then Megan, I think, wants to show you her picture when she's done. So I will insert that final clip at the end. And I will also insert a clip that I posted on Instagram, but she filmed a little bit of her fish tank with her new fish. We got 3 hatchet fish and 1 betta. So they are all happily in the tank now, along with the snails. It looks good. Because I'm saying I'm going to put in the video that you videoed. So I will put that on the end. If you're interested, you can check it out and see what they look like and hear Megan's description of her tank. Otherwise, I will see you guys in 2 weeks. So have a great 4th of July for those in the U.S. And for the rest of you, have a nice day and a nice 2 weeks. And we will see you next time.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
This is my betta. I have other fish in here. 2 snails and a couple of babies. Well, 4 babies. And my betta's called Harry. The 2 snails are called Hermione and Ron. The white one's Ron, and the gold one's Hermione. And though those little tiny ones. There are 3 of them, but you just can't see the third. They're called Dobby, Winky, and Creature. And I have a forbidden forest, which is all those trees. I have a Hogwarts. And I also have a Whomping Willow. I have a Hagrid's hut with a Hagrid. I have tons of stuff. And if you don't...
Oh, yeah, there's the Hagrid's hut and Hagrid.
And if you haven't read the Harry Potter books yet, get into them. They're very good. And make sure you read them before you watch the movies. Because they have a lot of important details that you may not see in the movie. And just like in the 3rd movie, has a lot of important details that are missed out in the movie. And the books are much longer. You can end the video now, Mom.
Okay, I think he might be going in Hogwarts.
Now Harry is going into Hogwarts. He went in. Plan accordingly. Harry has now been in Hogwarts, and he is venturing the place that he may go whenever he needs to hide or rest.
He's gonna learn magic.
Or maybe not, because there's no such thing as magic.
What?
Well, maybe there is in the tank world.
In the tank world, maybe. All right, bye, everybody.
Bye.